Game ideas are like the change of the wallet, essentially useless unless combined with something else. In our case, technical expertise and a lot of effort. If you've ever played a game before in your life, chances are you've had an idea or two about what might make a good game, or at least some mechanic you'd like to see in a game you already love. Indie developers may not struggle coming up with game ideas, they are countless. But what you might find yourself struggling with is which game idea is worth spending your time pursuing and how to come up with unique, novel concepts. Today I wanted to show you 3 different methods for quickly generating lots of different game ideas so that you can prototype, market research, and pitch them to your homies and fellow game developers to start and gauge what might be worth your effort and time. So the first method I wanted to talk about is the combination method. This is probably the method that everyone is already familiar with, but to illustrate my point, let's just go through a few examples. What do you get when you mix poker and Yu-Gi-Oh? That's right, you get Hearthstone. What do you get when you mix Mom's credit card and Having No Life? Well, obviously you end up with Clash of Clans. What about mixing Clash of Clans and Yu-Gi-Oh? If you guessed Clash Royale, you were correct. Here's one that everyone was talking about a couple years ago. What do you get when you mix Pokemon and Call of Duty? That's right, you get Pal World. Maybe something a little bit more obscure. What do you get when you mix a card shop simulator or some type of tycoon storefront simulator with Grand Theft Auto? That's right, you end up making Schedule 1. Okay, so I think you get the point. But the real secret sauce is to get a little more abstract with it. Instead of just combining 2 existing games, you can start to combine 2 different genres. So what do you get when you mix real-time strategy games with hero shooter games? Well, you probably guessed it, you end up creating the next big MOBA. What do you get when you combine self-loathing and real-time strategy games? You end up making Tinder. Now, jokes aside, let's seriously take this abstract thinking one step further to what truly seems like an absurd statement. What do you get when you mix a cat and a bed? I'm actually serious. Really think about it. Take a minute to see if you can generate any game ideas revolving around a cat and a bed. Pause the video and let's see what you came up with. Put it in the comments below. I can think of a few things off the top of my head. Okay, so let's take this idea of the cat and the bed, and the first thing that comes to my mind is some sort of turn-based strategy puzzle game. So what I want to do is I just want to start storyboarding the core game mechanic of this cat and bed game. So here's our phone device, and we might have the bed here. And maybe we have a side table here, and some sort of console table over here. Maybe we've got, a lamp on the side table, and maybe we've got a water bottle on the side table. Now you're the cat. You're the cat player. You spawn the character in, and we have a human sleeping nice and peacefully on the bed. So perhaps the object of this game is to, in the least amount of steps, as the cat, go ahead and wake up the player character who's sleeping on the bed. So we might have some sort of grid overlay running on top of our puzzle. And so if you're the cat and you're spawned in here as the cat, you might want to use some of your movement points to come over here on turn 1 and then jump up on the bed on turn 2, and then on turn 3 you might want to go ahead and sit on the person's chest and wake them up. Now, as you get better at the game, you might realize that actually the better turn 1 is to come over here to the side table, and with your second move just go ahead and knock the water off of the side table, and this will consequently wake up the player, so you can actually accomplish this puzzle in 2 moves instead of 3 moves. Okay, so we've got some sort of turn-based strategy puzzle game using this cat and bed idea. Here's another really simple game with a really simple gameplay loop. So this game is going to take place entirely on the bed, and the player character will maybe be spawned in here as the cat player, as the cat, and maybe perhaps there will be randomly generated little movements underneath the sheets. Like, you know, when you play with a cat, you put your feet under the sheets and go like that, or you use your hand and move it around under the sheets, and the cats really like that. Well, let's say that maybe the sheet, there's randomly generated ripples underneath with various magnitudes. You know, some are big and some are little small ripples, and the object of the game is, as the cat player, you want to navigate over to these ripples and catch them. You know, you get points for catching them, you level up, and here's another really simple gameplay loop that would be fun for some sort of waste 5 minutes of your day sort of mobile application. I'd probably want to put this in the vertical orientation, make it really comfortable and normal for the user to use it, to have the widest amount of appeal. I have been seeing that sometimes making a sideways, a horizontal oriented app nowadays has that little bit of extra to it when it comes to getting the user to actually flip their phone. So you have been seeing lots of phone games, these simple, quick, fun phone games that have been in the vertical position. Like, think Flappy Bird and how exciting that game was and how big of a success that game was. Okay, so we've got this turn-based strategy puzzle game. We've got this live action sort of WASD like movement attack sort of thing. You could extrapolate this to maybe there is actually monsters running around on top of the bed that need to be caught. There were different points you can level up. Maybe you'll have some sort of timing mechanism where you only have 60 seconds, say, maybe to capture as many of the creatures as you can and collect as many points as you can. And so here's another game that revolves around a cat in a bed. Let's think about one more and then we'll move on. Okay, so here's one more idea revolving around a cat in a bed. This one, again, will take place entirely on the bed. The object of the game is to end up with as the cat player with the comfiest position on the bed. So what we're actually going to do for this game is going to be a PvP game. So there's going to be one player that spawns in here and one player that spawns in here, and it's sort of like a King of the Hill situation where there will be a hot zone, and so maybe at the start of the match this will be the zone that is rewarding the cat who can stay inside of the zone with the most amount of points. And cats might have an attack, like they might have scratch, or they might have dash, they might have bite, they might have hiss, that nerfs the other player's movement speed, perhaps, for example, for a short period of time. And every so often the zone will switch over to a different location, and it's the object of the player character cat to stay in the zone for the longest amount of time. So here's another idea about cats and beds, and this one is a real-time PvP game with a multiplayer element. Perhaps maybe there's even a situation where it's like it's a 2v2 situation, and there's two cats on each team, and there's multiple hot zones, and maybe there's birds coming in, or mice, or other player characters that are part of the family dynamic. Maybe one's a cat and one's a dog, and so here's a multiplayer game that revolves around this sort of cat in bed element. So you can see what I'm going here. The combination method will take two seemingly unrelated things and combining them, and then just basically seeing what you can come up with. And really you can just generate an infinite number of ideas like this, but then it's a matter of finding one that you like and then discussing it, doing some market research perhaps, maybe making a little bit of a prototype, getting your fellow game developers involved, and it really just goes to show that, like we mentioned at the start of the video, these ideas are really just a dime a dozen. You can generate tons of simple, fun, fast game ideas, especially in the realm of just simple little phone games, simple little Steam games. That seems where there's a lot of interest nowadays in the indie game sphere. So you don't necessarily need to take on these huge, expansive projects, especially if you are just getting started. Think about something simple. Get your feet wet, get your foot in the door, and go ahead and experiment with some simple concept like this. Okay, so now that we've got our mind wrapped around the combination method, method number 2 and method number 3 are sort of the inverse of each other. So method number 2 is the top-down approach. And what is the top-down approach? So you've identified some specific genre and type of game that you're going to make. You have your heart set on it and nothing's going to change your mind, but you don't necessarily have any specific character, style, or mechanics in mind. Okay? Going with a top-down method is beneficial in this case because as you design the application, starting from the splash page, you might start to form stronger opinions about what you want your game to look like. Perhaps thinking about what your splash screen looks like and moving on to the UI, you'll eventually need to make a decision about what you want available to the user. Are you going to have a story mode? Single player? Multiplayer? Are you going to have some sort of endless mode? Perhaps you want to keep it simple with just one big button that says Start Adventure, and the gameplay loop is just a quick 30-minute session that can be picked up or dropped off at any time. So let's hop back over into Paint and discuss what we can do with the top-down method. So I'm gonna say I want to create a vertical-oriented application, and my logo, I'm gonna have some explosive logo here, and in a text box I'm gonna have the name of my application here, and then there's gonna be some loading bar down here. Pretty standard. After this, we need to launch into our UI. And what are we going to provide in the UI? So before I design this UI, I need to make some conscious decisions about what the game is going to start to look like. Like I said, are we going to have a button here for single player, and we're going to have a button here for multiplayer? Are we going to have a button for story mode and a button for endless mode? At what point do we want to, show the user their settings or their level? We might have to have a settings button up here, and we'll have a little bar for their experience here, and another little toggle that shows them their level and their experience on the current level. And from the settings menu, we'll open up some sort of dialogue so they can adjust sound and log into their Google or their Apple account, depending on what platform you're working with. And so working from the top down gives us this ability to, okay, I want to make a vertical, real-time strategy game. I've got my logo here, and I've got the name of my application here, and that's all I really got. And that's all you really need to start with for the top-down method, because as you start developing your storyboard here, you're going to start to come up with more and more ideas about what you want your game to look like. So let's say we've opted for a single player story mode and then some sort of endless wave mode where there's an endless number of enemies that continually come at us. So then we have two places to go from here. We have to then generate the story mode, and we have to generate the endless mode. So let's first go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Go ahead and make this guy a little bit bigger. And let's work on the story mode first. So some sort of real-time strategy game, right? and we're going to have maybe some sort of progression. So what you'll see a lot in games nowadays is you'll have these nodes, and these nodes are connected by some sort of path. Maybe you need to beat this level before you can access this level, and maybe there's branching paths. You can go to 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe skip this node entirely, and maybe at the end of the map you're gonna have some sort of special boss level that needs to be completed, and then there we go. We're on to our next UI element. So when the player goes ahead and clicks one of these nodes to load up the next page of the application, maybe this is where we have the core gameplay elements. We said it's some sort of real-time strategy game, so perhaps it's like Clash Royale. We've got our enemy troops that might start here, and they're gonna advance on us. We might have some sort of a UI bar here with various cards that we can play, and the user action would be go ahead and clicking this card and dropping it onto the battlefield to spawn the associated troop, and then maybe for the endless mode, we have some sort of system here. Let me go ahead and delete this. Maybe we have some sort of system here on the side, so that we can see the upcoming waves. So we know there's going to be a square troop and a circle troop. Maybe the wave after that is going to be 2 circle troops, and the wave after that is going to be 3 little troops. And we might have some shareable UI components here. We still got our bar with our deck in it, available for us to play our various cards, and in the same way we can click and drag these cards. So the bottom half, the user side of this application, is completely reusable amongst these 2 modes, the endless mode and the single player mode. And the endless mode just has this additional UI element that shows the waves of troops that are coming up in the future, and the endless mode lacks this sort of node based architecture for the story, for the campaign. And so there we've gone ahead and storyboarded this real-time strategy campaign story endless mode game using the top-down approach. Okay, so great. Moving on to the bottom-up approach. This is the approach you want to take when you've identified a character or some type of game mechanic that you want to build a game using. So starting with the core gameplay loop, what does that look like? And you can start by exploring the game mechanics and using that to develop the world, style, and atmosphere around it. This is really what we did using the bed cat example when we were talking about the combination method. So we started with the core idea of, okay, we're going to have a cat and we're going to have a bed, and what sort of ideas can we generate around this method. So let's regenerate this game idea, but using the bottom-up method. So in that case, you're going to want to start with the core gameplay loop. So our core gameplay loop, I know I want to develop this real-time strategy game with enemies approaching my side of the screen, and maybe I want to have some sort of card mechanic similar to Clash Royale. So I'm going to start with the core gameplay mechanic, is that there's enemies, and those enemies are approaching my side of the field. What happens when they reach my side of the field? I don't know. Maybe there's maybe there is a tower here, similar to Clash Royale, or maybe it's more like a tower defense where if they make it past my zone, then I lose a certain amount of health, and my health bar gets decreased based off of how many enemies make it past the gate. And so starting with this core gameplay function, I can then start to understand, okay, well, how does the user actually launch into this core gameplay. Well, okay, I would probably need to have some sort of system where there's various nodes, and they are connected by paths, and the user action is selecting on one of the nodes, and this is going to then load the battle screen. So you can see how in this case we've started with our core idea and we're working backwards, developing the application, and then we're working backwards and developing how the core gameplay is launched. And then obviously from here, well, we can't just spawn the game in the node based system. Maybe we want to have multiple modes, so we're going to have a button for the endless mode and a button for the story mode, and that's where the main loading screen comes in. And obviously we want a splash screen, and so from there we can go back on. And so we've essentially reverse engineered our game from the top down approach, but now we're just doing it in a bottom up method. So really here, I guess I've presented to you two methods, the top-down and the bottom-up approach, and then the method one is really the trick on how to generate the unique game ideas that you can do, and then whatever's easiest when you have the idea or you have some sort of system or mechanic that comes to your mind, then whatever is easier and whatever makes more sense, then you would generate some sort of prototype and storyboard using either the bottom-up or the top-down. Anyways, this is just my 2 cents about the whole idea. If you come up with any game ideas, put them in the comments. Let me know if this was useful, and if you stuck around this far, please do hit that subscribe. I got lots more content like this coming, so thank you so much, and I will see you next time.